My name is Ron Rice, and I've been in the publishing industry for more than 40 years. And I wanted to say a few words about bookstores and how important they are, especially now. And I've dealt with bookstores for many, many years, independent bookstores, and I've traveled and seen so many. And they're so important to people, especially in this country right now. But I wanted to just review for you a story that happened to me years ago when I was traveling I was in Stamford, Connecticut, and I was at a bookstore just after 9/11 had happened. And it was a very somber time, especially in Stamford, because a lot of people who had been affected by 9/11 lived and commuted from Stamford. And the bookstore, it was around Christmas time, and the bookstore is still very somber, and people were just sort of coming out and buying their Christmas presents, but nobody really felt very much like shopping. And this bookstore owner, like many of the bookstores at this time, started putting out on their tables books about the Middle East, books about the Muslim religion, books about, there were a few books that were starting to creep out about what had happened, instant books that they were called. And people were just so desperately looking for answers. Why had this happened? There were people in there in the shop that had lost family. And I remember that it almost was a place to gather at that time for just a sense of community and comfort. And this place was already offering something to try and help understand, because people were so shocked. Why did this happen? What did we do wrong? Did we affect what happened here? And the tables were set up, and people were definitely browsing books about possibly answering these questions. And I remember being so affected by that. And when I did my book, the editing process, so many of the writers that are in my book had the very same experience, not about 9/11, but the commonality of what these bookstores are trying to accomplish. And one of the writers who was just fantastic, Lisa C., who's a fantastic writer, writing about Romans Bookstore in California, she writes, "The store serves as the heart of the community, hosting food and gift drives, free HIV testing and pet adoption days, and making donations to charity raffles and school book fairs." I mean, how crucial is that? That's so important, because it's not happening at a government level in a lot of cases. So in steps the independent bookstore. Again, I'm reading here, the great Pico Iyer for Chaucer's bookshop. "It was not a shop so much as an old friend's home, a place where thousands of us feel welcome, woven into a circle and surrounded by like-minded souls." That's basically the essence of why I loved being in publishing for so long. Like-minded souls, all of us trying to fill in the blanks of who we are by looking at great works of nonfiction and fiction. Growing up, I adored Philip Roth. And when I was a buyer for a bookstore and a buyer for a book wholesaler, when I traveled to bookstores, I always made sure to check if they had all the Philip Roth books, of which there are about 27. But we all had that common feeling for an author that affected us. And you could see that in the different bookstores, as they all made sure to have a representation of who they are. And I found that the independent bookstores filled in so much for me of who I am. And that's the reason I made did for my entire adult life. Publishing and bookstores was all I did. And I'm so proud that I was able to do that. And I still head for the bookstore. If I travel, if I'm in a different city, the bookstore is where I need to look to feel a part of things. And that's where I am now. And I'm glad to be here.